Hello and welcome to another character creation video. Here's the funny thing, I actually did a Morrowind character creation video several years ago, but because I'm stupid, I lost all of my videos. I know, that's why I'm not getting any views anymore even though I have 800 subscribers. It's wonderful how that works. So, besides YouTube screwing me over and me screwing over myself even more than YouTube did me, I have to make a new Morrowind video because this is a very important game to me, one of my all-time favorite games, and I feel like no real CRPG channel is complete without some nerd telling you how to make the perfect Morrowind character. Right. Morrowind is a game that a lot of people like to talk crap about. And they do so because they don't understand the mechanics of the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, or show you at least, what the mechanics of this game are, because people often complain, and I see it on a lot of forums, I'm not going to mention which, where, oh, you know, the hits are all determined by dice rolls instead of actually physically hitting your opponent. That's so lame, that's so jank. Well, that's not true. It's actually a game that makes a lot of sense. You just have to know how to game the system.
Head down to the dock and it'll show you to the census office.
You have to know what the game is looking for, and you have to be able to adapt to it.
Let's go. Move it along.
It's not a hard game. It's actually quite easy, and it's very fun too. I'll tell you the truth. Between this and probably Daggerfall are the two best games ever made by Bethesda. It just depends on what you like. Daggerfall is more of a dungeon crawler, whereas Morrowind is like the brand new avant-garde RPG of its time. Funny thing is, I hated Morrowind when it first came out. I thought it was too watered down compared to Daggerfall, but it has its own complexities, and I'll show you why. So, enough of my macho posturing and grandstanding. We'll just get straight with the game here. Now, here's the thing. Everybody complains about not being able to hit anything in Morrowind, correct? That's right. So, just like Daggerfall, the most important statistic, the one that determines whether you can hit anything, is agility. So, let's sit back and we'll look at which classes start with the highest agility. Well, that would be male Argonians. They start with 50 agility. Wood Elves, both male and female, start with 50 agility. Khajiits, both male and female, start with 50 agility. Not too bad, right? Red Guards only start with 40. So that would make them a lesser character, right? Well, here's the thing. Male Argonians start with an absolutely abysmal 30 endurance. That's not good, because that means you're only getting 3 hit points for your first few level ups until you get that endurance up. Wood Elves, also both male and female, start with 30 endurance. We don't want that. That is completely unacceptable. Khajiits, here's the problem. Male Khajiits start with 30 endurance. Not good. Female Khajiits have 40 endurance. That's better, but they start with 30 strength. So, also not very good. So what do we do? I mean, you can't be a Khajiit because their strength and endurance sucks. You can't be a Wood Elf because their strength and endurance sucks. And you can't be an Argonian because their endurance is horrible. This is where things get a little interesting. Red Guards. Red Guards are the master race in Morrowind. I know some people like Dark Elves, and that is true. Dark Elves do start with 40 agility, and they even start with 50 speed. However, this is what's great about a Red Guard. Okay, Red Guards start with, both male and female start with 40 agility. Both male and female start with 50 endurance. That's good. The males trade 10 points in personality, giving them a very low personality, unfortunately. but that 10 points goes into their strength. So they start with 50 strength, 50 endurance, and 40 agility. That's good. And to top it off, if you notice, they also get 15 bonus points in Longblade, and another 5 points in heavy armor, and another 5 points in athletics. Those are all skills that we're going to be using. So, that being the case, guess what? That's right, male Red Guards make the absolute best character race and gender combination in the game for those reasons. So,
Great. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release.
now if you want to, can you play a Dark Elf? Because Dark Elves are really cool and get that nice ancestor summoning power? Sure. Dark Elves do start with the male. I would say if you're going to start with a Dark Elf, okay, go with the male Dark Elf, and your strength and your endurance are going to be 40, but it's not that bad of a trade-off. I just like the fact that Red Guards start with 50 strength and 50 endurance, which will get you started, because that's what we're really focusing on with this character creation guide, is getting you, the neophyte, the person who isn't very good at Morrowind. We're trying to get you off on the right foot so that you can play the game and succeed. But like I said, if you want to play a Dark Elf, you can. I would say play a male a male Dark Elf, because the female ones start with 30 endurance.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
Now, here's the thing. My very first character that I took through Morrowind back in the day when it first came out was a male Dark Elf. So, it's possible. I just think Red Guards make a better one, because your only weakness as a Red Guard is you start with 30 intelligence, which means your first thing that you want to do is you want to get that intelligence up. And you can do that by casting some like practice spells, or you can just we'll work on it. We'll get there. So we're going to create a custom class, right? One of my favorite classes that I think fits well with Red Guards, because Red Guards are mainly a seafaring race, since they're mainly seen as like pirates or ship captains, people that sail the seas. You know, I give them Corsair, because I think that's like a, it's like a cool name for someone who travels on the sea and, fights enemies and leads ships. It's pretty cool. Name it whatever you want. Come up with any little weird name that you want. It's your game. Okay. I always go with combat specialization, because you're mainly going to be using combat skills more than anything else. And as for abilities, I would raise your agility up. And I know this is going to seem a little strange, because the Red Guards start with a very low intelligence. I would actually move the intelligence up by 10 by making it one of your favorite attributes. And you may be wondering, it's like, wow, why not put the 10 points in endurance so we can start with 60? It's like, no, trust me, your endurance is going to go up very high, because one of the skills we're going to pick is heavy armor. And heavy armor, you're going to be getting hit constantly. So your endurance is going to go up. It is going to go up through the roof. So, first skill we pick, Longblade. That's all you're going to be using. No other weapon type. All the best weapons in this game are pretty much Longblades, including the secret special one. I'm not going to spoil that. Next, I would go with heavy armor. Naturally, you want the heaviest, most strongest armor possible for this character class. And since we want to raise intelligence up, and we want to be able to have no problem doing so, I would actually say pick security as a major skill, so that it starts a little higher. That way you can start picking locks. And every time you pick a lock, your intelligence will ding. It'll move your intelligence up. So when you level up, if you say picked 4 or 5 locks, built your uh, security skill up 4 or 5, you can get a few points in intelligence every single level. So it works. I'll show you another way to do it. You can also learn spells, make spells in the spell maker, that sort of thing. So, okay, next we would pick mysticism. Mysticism is extremely important in this game because not only will it allow you to cast reflect and absorb spells, which get very important later in the game when people are casting magic at you, it also allows you to cast mark and recall, which, at least the way I play, is very important. Being able to lay down a teleport marker and go back to it anytime you want to. Because this game, there's a lot of backtracking and there is no fast travel outside of Silt Striders. So that's why I would recommend downloading the mod that lets you have multiple mark and recall. There is a mod that can do that. Some people consider it cheating. I don't know. I leave that up to you. But having multiple teleport buoys that you can go back to, very invaluable. And of course, we pick Restoration because, duh. No matter what game you're playing in an Elder Scrolls game, no matter what world you're in, Restoration is incredibly important. Okay. Minor skills. We do want to raise our agility up, and we want to take advantage of it as well, so we're going to pick block. Keep in mind that block is a dice roll in this game, much like the hitting, so you can't physically press a button to raise your shield up. Your shield will only go up if you make the dice roll in combat. Exactly. So you want a high block ability. I also like picking athletics because it's a great way to raise your speed, which is going to help in the long run. And you don't have to do anything, it just moves up naturally. I do like having marksman, just that option to hit things with your bow, especially if you're going up against a flying enemy, which there are plenty of them in this game. So yeah, you're gonna have some fun with that. I also pick armor because you want to be able to repair your stuff. It's just like Oblivion in that you're going to want to carry at least 5 armor hammers around so you can actually repair your equipment when you're inside of a dungeon. And then I also pick acrobatics because acrobatics is a good way to, let's say if you need an extra level, you can just sit there and jump for 10 minutes and gain a level. Yeah, I know, it's corny, but it works. Sometimes that's sort of what you need. Okay, so we got everything we need. Looks good.
Very good. The letter that preceded, you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
Now, as for sign, at least with this character anyway, I always tell people if they're making a character that is magic centered, I always say pick a Breton and give them the mage sign. That way they get double intelligence and magic points, giving them 200 magic points total at the end of the game, which is nice. But we're not really going to be casting spells with this character. We're actually going to be dodging and hitting things. So we want the lover as our sign, which fortifies our agility by 25 points.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
Okay, so this is our character. Let's take a look. We have a very, very high long blade score of 50. You can't get any higher than that in this game. Heavy armor starts at 40. Once again, very, very respectable. We start with, we start with 75 agility. Now, that 75 agility, I'm telling you, that's insane. Like, right off at the start of the game, that is really good. To be honest, you could get an agility of about, let's say, 80, and you could probably go through the whole game with just like an agility around 70 to 80. and then you'd be fine, even if you never raised it. Okay, now, one thing I do want to say is your endurance determines your hit points, but what this game doesn't tell you is that it actually, even though it says right here that I have 50 hit points, for instance, you can actually have like 50.5 or 50.3. Here's how that works. What the game does is every time you level up, it takes your current endurance skill and it divides it by 10 and adds that to your hit points. So let's just say our endurance was 55 right now and we leveled up. The game would show my hit point total as now being 55 hit points, but that would be incorrect. It would actually be 55.5. If we leveled up one more time, we would actually have 61 hit points instead of 60. Because although the game does not show it, there is a decimal point in your hit points. So keep that in mind when you level your endurance, because you might think, oh, my endurance is 65 or my endurance is 68. I'm just going to get 6 hit points a level. No, you're going to get 6.8 hit points a level. I know, it's kind of autistic to think of it this way, but it adds up. Those little points, like the 0.8, the 0.5, the 0.2, they add up after a while. And those are free hit points. So keep in mind, don't be ashamed to raise your endurance a little bit, even if it's like 2 or 3 points, because it does add up in the long run. Don't think it's like Daggerfall, where your endurance only calculates like every 10. Like 50, 60, 70, 80. It's not like that.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
Okay, so we will take that. Now, some people like to steal this. No. We're not going to steal from... We're not going to steal from the Empire. Because we love the Empire. We love everything about it. But what we don't love is the guard post here, because we're going to steal absolutely everything that's not nailed onto the floor. So just take absolutely everything, because we need money, and you won't get caught stealing any of this stuff. Since we have a high strength, we'll be able to lift all this stuff. It's no big deal. So just take it all. And before we leave, take your lockpick. Work on that lockpicking skill. I know what people would tell me. They're like, well, you can just get the open lock spell and then you don't have to worry about lockpicking. That is true. That is very true. But we're making a character class that's supposed to be a little on the crafty and agile side. They're not really a spellcaster. And you won't always have the magic needed to cast an open lock spell. So I prefer having the ability to use pick locks. All right. Okay, so we are finally out of here. We're going to... You see the ring that I picked up in that bucket before I went through that door? It belongs to this wood elf. Just give him the ring. I know what you're thinking. Why don't we sell it? It's better to give it to him because he's friends with the guy who runs the item shop. And the cool thing about that is that he'll give you a nice discount on your equipment. So, we will barter with him, and we will sell absolutely everything that we stole. Well, we didn't really sell it, steal it. We just took something that didn't belong to anybody. So, Probably wondering why this person came to the trade shop and he's just selling a bunch of cutlery. It's like, yeah, I'm moving, I'm selling my old stuff, you know. Don't need all these pots and pans. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of money, now we can start to buy stuff. Now, this is a longsword character, and you're not going to find any decent longswords in this first area. But you will find some steel stuff, which is what we want. Okay, so we got iron, which is good. So we'll buy the iron greaves, we'll buy the steel greaves, we'll buy the steel gauntlet. Okay. And we will buy the iron cuirass. I think you can get a steel helmet at the next town. I'm not sure. Well, just in case you can't, I'll tell you what. We'll just take what we got right here. Okay, so let's put our equipment on. And before we do anything, we're going to take a little bit of a detour. We have, how much gold do we have? 145. We might have enough.
Let's get this over quickly.
Actually, you know what we're going to do first? I'm going to do a little bit of a side quest. Now if you look, hey look, I just killed something in one hit. How about that? Everybody talks about how hard this game is and how they can't hit anything. Boy, that sure did seem hard, didn't it, guys? This is what always cracks me up about people and how they hate on Morrowind. Why, I went to fight a mud crab, and the mud crab completely destroyed me. Are these mud crabs destroying me? Oh no, I guess that must be because I have an agility of 75. And I started with a long blade skill of 50. You see, this is what really bothers me about people who talk crap about Morrowind. They don't understand the mechanics. They don't understand what it's asking for. Now, can you make a character that has 30 agility? Sure. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you later on a character that I created recently that I plan to play as, who has even worse agility than that. See how it works? Easy. Look at that. See how easy that is? Now there's a side quest up here with the taxman who's dead. And you can do his quest if you want to. His body is over here. keep in mind that you do have a stamina meter in the lower left-hand corner of the game. And as that's, you see that green bar? You don't have to worry about it too much as a red guard because they have pretty high stamina. But do keep in mind that the lower your stamina goes, it's actually going to lower the hit rate of your weapon. So even if you have a high agility, if your stamina is low, you might actually start missing your shots. So just keep that in mind. Don't mind the fact that this guy is naked. I have a better bodies mod, so people do appear naked. This might actually get dinged. It's not for kids, you know. There is some nudity. Now you can keep the money this guy has, or you can do the quest. I really don't care. I would do the quest because I think you actually do get a little bit more gold out of it. But it doesn't matter. You can just keep the money. No one gives two craps if the if the tax man is dead. No, nobody cares. So just go and take his money. Now what we're going to do is we're going to buy a silver sword. Because very early in the game, including one of the earliest dungeons, which is over there, have some ghosts in there, and you can't kill ghosts or what do I want to say? Incorporeal beings, like stuff like that. You can't kill them unless you have a silver weapon or better. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the first town over here, which isn't that far away. Excuse me. My drink went down the wrong hole. Yeah, that's the problem with recording things live. So what we're going to do is go over to this first town. And we're going to buy some better equipment. Morrowind is a very beautiful and relaxing game. I don't have it heavily modded, but even just lightly modded, you can see the game is very beautiful. I'm not like most people who like to mod this game all to hell and then make it look completely different. You could. I mean, you could spend your time downloading 500 freaking terabytes of textures and make it look like the Oblivion remaster, if that's your deal. Me, I like to keep a little bit of the early 2000s charm. So go into this guy's place, talk to him. Okay, he should have a silver sword. Silver dagger. He does have the steel pauldrons, which we do need, so we'll take them. And does he have boots? Yes, he does. He has boots. Okay, so now we have the pauldrons, we have the boots. I think the other guy might have the sword, because someone here does have a silver sword. I know that.
What's this about?
Silver claymore, silver... There we go, silver longsword. That's exactly what we needed. We'll sell some of the stuff we took, because we don't need that. Got the silver sword. I don't have enough to buy a shield, unfortunately. No, that we don't. But that's okay. Because we have the silver sword. That's all that matters. So, now that we have our sword... We've got full heavy armor. We got our silver sword. We're not really looking that hot, but for being level 1 and fresh off the boat, not too bad. So, the first thing you should do when you have this character set up, you want to really get your agility and your endurance up, and maybe your intelligence. That should be your number one concern. Intelligence, I would try to get it up because you will be casting spells at least to some degree. You're not a mage, you're not going to be flinging destruction magic to and fro, but you still need to be able to cast defensive magic, you still need to be able to heal. You're still going to have to cast Mark and Recall to move you around the game world. So you do need some magic. You know, you don't have to be... Your maximum is going to be 100 with this character. You're not really going to hit the upper echelons of spell casting with this guy, but you're not going to need to because you're going to be a melee powerhouse that's going to hit things and hit things very hard. So don't worry about it. So the first thing I like to do, there's 2 dungeons I like to clear out first. There's that dungeon right there, but we're not going to go there yet. First things first, I like to go over to this little side dungeon because there's a couple ghosts in here and some good loot that you can really can only get to if you have a silver weapon. One of the cool things about Morrowind is there's literally a dungeon like every 50 feet from the previous dungeon. There's like an absolute crap ton of little grottos and cemeteries and all kinds of cool little places to explore. Matter of fact, the very best armor in the game, the Dragonbone Cuirass, the one that I like the most, you can actually get that in a shipwreck off the coast of the... I think it's off the western coast. It's been a long time, but it's so funny. You can just pick up the best armor in the game in this little nondescript boat wreckage. It's so funny. Okay, so this dungeon is close by to the first town, so we're just going to pop in there for a bit. I don't think there's much in here that you can take that's really worth anything. Now see, here's the ghost I was talking about. If you didn't have a silver weapon, you wouldn't be fighting that guy. He would kill you, and that would be it. Well, there's a shield. I'll go take that shield, sell the sword. Unfortunately, I don't think we have a probe, so I'm not going to be able to disarm that trap. I should have bought one. I forgot all about that too. Okay, now look at that. Fortify intelligence 10 points. Fortify attribute willpower 10 points. That right there will give you a pretty decent intelligence to start. So that even though the Red Guard has that lower intelligence, now your intelligence is 50. Not too shabby. Might as well practice our healing a little bit. And because we picked Restoration as a major skill, our healing, we can actually cast a few healing spells now at a pretty high rate of success. 73%. Once again, not too shabby. I really think Morrowind is one of those games that if you're a younger gamer who wasn't gaming back when this came out and you have that idea where you know you think this is a janky game or an unfair game or it's too archaic, it's too old, it has stupid rules. I think that's wrong and I think that's unfair. And one of the main purposes behind my channel is that I want people to like abandon that idea with games and instead not be afraid to play games that they are told by the community are too hard for them, because I don't think there's such a thing as a game that's too difficult. You just need to learn how to play it, and once you know how to play it, it's no longer difficult, and then you can enjoy it. So, go ahead and sell some of this crap we got. We don't need any of this. Now, we have enough money to where you can go back. You know that town that I bought all this armor in? We could go back there and buy the better shield now. We could go buy the steel tower shield if you want. Okay, so let's if you hit F1, you can go into your quick keys, and I highly advise you to set your equipment and your spells that you want up as a quick key, so that, like, for instance, you can hit 1 and you have your sword, you can hit 2 and you have your heal spell. Now, unlike the later Elder Scrolls games, your mana does not regenerate. However, I do have a Magicka regen mod that I use, where if you notice, it depends upon your willpower. The higher your willpower, the more mana you'll regen. It's not game balance breaking. You probably at about 50. Around 50 willpower, you're probably regenning 1 magic point every 2 seconds. So it's not too bad. Once again, some people consider that cheating. I'll leave that up to you. Keep in mind there is a mage over here who's pretty high level for a beginner character, so you have to be a little careful. One thing I like to do with mages is I try to rush them as quickly as possible before they have a chance to hit you with their magic. some moon sugar. We don't want moon sugar because, yeah, we're not a drug addict. But if you want to roleplay a drug addict, go to it. You get some skooma. You know, it's up to you, man, if that's, you know, the kind of thing you want to do. Then you can go and unlock their bracers.
Blessed we are.
This is an honor for me.
Now, keep in mind, going up a level, you have to have 10 increases of one of these major or minor skills. As this character, most of your increases are going to be long blade and heavy blade, or excuse me, long blade and heavy armor, so you're going to have strength and endurance more than anything, and you'll be increasing those every level. But you do have some control over what you gain beyond that, and I'm going to show you how. So this character I'm currently playing in another save file, and he is level 20. So I'm going to show you what this character looks like when you get towards the end of the game. This is what he's going to look like. And here's the stats. You see anything special? Yeah, so you're going to have a pretty high agility. And when you're rocking an agility of 160, there's basically nothing in the game that's going to miss your sword swings. So, yeah. A long blade of 100 with an agility of 160, you've officially broken the game. You are the end boss. But there's some things to keep in mind. So, one of the things I like to do when I'm leveling up, especially, for instance, block, because block is a hard skill to level up on its own because it only increases when your shield successfully is raised. Now, as for security, if you want to level up your intelligence, you can. You can always go to the Thief's Guild. You can join that, and you can train in security. Gold is pretty plentiful in Morrowind. Once, you know, glass armor and orcish armor and ebony, once that starts dropping, you can go to the mud crab merchant, go and Google it. He's over on the side of Vivek, off on one of the small islands. You can go there and sell him things, and he'll pay you a lot of money. And before people tell me it's cheating, it's not. It's in the game. It's not a cheat code. It's actually in the base game. So what I do is I'll often sell things to the mud crab merchant. But if I want to raise my intelligence, what I do is I either train my security up, which is nice, but you can only do it so many times. or what I do is I make a training spell, where you find something. For instance, if you want to move your intelligence up, what is it? Conjuration can do it, and I think alchemy is the other skill. Yeah. So what you do is you get a really cheap. Do I have a really cheap conjuration spell? Yeah. See how I have practice conjuration, and it's really cheap. It only costs me 1 magic point, and it's just bound 1 helm for 1 second. So before I get a level up, like right here, I'm 6 of my 10 points away from getting my next level. What I'll do is I'll just go to a safe place where I know I'm not going to be attacked. And I'll just sit over here. And just keep casting that spell over and over again. And as you cast it, let's see, where is my conjuration skill? As you cast it, you'll see it starts to go up. It's at 18 now, right? Now it's at 23. Now I know this can be very time consuming, but if you want to raise your intelligence, this is what you're going to have to do. Because remember, if you played Oblivion, you know that in the original Oblivion, not the remastered one, the game will, before you get a level up, it'll take a look to see how many increases each attribute got. For instance, conjuration is intelligence, illusion is personality, alteration is willpower. So the game is going to look to see, like, oh, how many skills did the player raise that used intelligence as their governing attribute. So if you had 10 increases with an intelligence skill, like if you raised your conjuration 10 points, it's going to allow you to increase the intelligence stat by 5 when you level up. So you have to remember that. If you want to instead say maybe you want to raise your endurance by 5, because that's the maximum you can raise any skill at level up. Well, then you're going to have to find which skills here on the list use endurance, and you're going to have to find a way to move them up 10 times. Not any one skill, but a combined skill. Like, for instance, heavy armor raises up your endurance, but so does, what is another one that uses endurance? Medium armor. Or, say, the armor skill does too, doesn't it? Yeah. No, that uses strength. So, you could move medium armor up by 5 and heavy armor up by 5, and it would still count as 10 points, thus allowing you to raise your endurance up by 5 at your level up. Does that make sense? I know. It was 2000, 2001. Back then we had to play role-playing games the old-fashioned way, with math and formulas and dice rolls. I know. It's weird. You young people have no idea what it's like. So, sometimes I'll go into the bottom of the Mages Guild, where it's basically safe, and you can rest in one of the beds. And I'll sit there and I'll just cast conjuration spells until I move my conjuration up 10 points. And then once I move it, like, say, to 50 and get a level up, since conjuration isn't one of my major or minor skills, it won't level me up. It won't tick that meter as a progress towards my level. So you see how you can kind of game the system? You can actually move skills up without actually leveling. Like, I have a practice illusion spell. Illusion raises your personality. So I can sit there and practice illusion, which is, you know, a good way to get my personality up. Or I have practice alteration, which, let's see, which is levitate. And alteration raises up your willpower. So that's a good way to get your willpower and all these other stats up there. Because like I said, strength and endurance are going to top out pretty easily with this character. And if you want to raise your block, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find a very low level enemy. Or high level if you're feeling adventurous, it doesn't matter. But you're going to have to find yourself an enemy. See if we can find somebody. Usually there's a couple animals up here on the northern end of Balmora. You can usually agitate one of them into attacking you. Oh yeah, here we go. So what you do is you pick an enemy. You might have to get your heal spell queued up because you never know. They might actually start doing damage. This is also a good way to raise your armor level up too. The sad thing is it doesn't... Okay, see, there you go, I blocked it. Now, that'll move your block up a little bit. Every time you block, it'll move your block. And this does get a little time consuming, but if you want to raise up your agility, this is how you do it. Or you go and train in the Fighters Guild. They can train you in block as well. What you could even do is you could probably drag this guy over here and have them both hit you. Now you have 3 guys hitting you all at once. Unfortunately, our block isn't really working. So, figures, I try to make one of these videos, right? I think my character's just too high level and these things are too low. Normally, if you're, like, say, level 1 to 5 or, you know, somewhere in that vicinity, you can go and attack a rat and just sit there as the rat attacks you, and you'll block almost every attack. Now, see there, I blocked. And that moved my block up another 6 points. So you could sit here probably for 10 minutes letting these things beat on you to raise your block 1 level. It's up to you if you want to do it. You could let it go naturally if you want. You know, it's up to you. So that's... Right there, I just basically showed you how to make a decent character. Now, these practice spells are another thing I wanted to talk about. See how it's 1 point... What you do is, like, if you want to practice alteration, you create a levitation spell that's levitate 1 point for 1 second. That way it's cheap, it's able to always be cast with little failure, but the game still counts it as you casting an alteration spell. So you can just spam cast it in a nice safe place and build up your levels. Same with Conjuration, just Bound Helm for 1 second on self. Illusion is Sanctuary for 1 point for 1 second on self. Very easy. I do that same thing in Daggerfall when I want to raise my magic up in Daggerfall, because otherwise your magic's never going to reach any, you know, decent plateau unless you sit there and practice it. Now I'll show you another character that I'm working on. I am making a mage type character, and if you notice, her agility is kind of low. But magic actually can be a pretty decent way to fight in this game. You don't actually have to hit things with weapons. It follows the same basic idea as Daggerfall, where the touch magic is cheaper to cast and does more damage. So you can just walk up to something with your old lady hands like this chick has and just kill them with a magic spell, you know. Magic is very viable in this game. As a matter of fact, I would say out of all the Elder Scrolls games, this is the one where magic really does the most damage. So if you want to play a mage, you know, go for it. Now, this same character, I could hit things with my staff, but since my agility is so low, it's, you know, it's going to take a while. So I'm just showing you that's basically how you make a decent... That's how you make a decent Morrowind character. My little final addendum to this, now that I've showed you how to play Morrowind, if you're going to play Morrowind, I would advise you to get the Open Morrowind program and actually run it through there instead of the actual Morrowind program itself. What you do is you would download Open Morrowind and then point it to your Morrowind executable, and it'll run it through a much more stable engine. Not all mods are compatible with the Open Morrowind engine, but it's a lot more stable, and it fixes a lot of the bugs natively that even mods to this day still don't fix properly. So, okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it made some sense and taught you how to play Morrowind. Morrowind is a very beautiful game, as you can see. It's a very fun game. It should not be avoided. Just because you might have grown up on Oblivion or Skyrim, don't be afraid to go backwards and play some of the older Elder Scrolls games like Daggerfall, Battlespire, or Morrowind, because they are very fun, and they aren't as hard as you think they are. They're actually quite easy. So, with that, I hope everyone has a good night, and keep gaming.